Hey, this is going to be some post-commentary on my world record for just Elysian 80% Warpless. Let's just get straight into it. Uh, okay, so I'll try and explain things as I go if you're not familiar. So straight off the bat, we're going to do some rocket jumping where you basically we're taking advantage of the cancelling mechanics in the game to be able to do a certain special attack, cancel that into a jump slash, which gives us a bit of a boost. It's a little bit faster than just walking. Yeah. So yeah, doing some. Just keep rocket jumping through here, skip a cutscene. So I managed to nail all the rocket jumps here. We got our first ability, which is dash. So we're also going straight into the first skip of the run, deer skip, which I managed to get. So basically we're jumping over an invisible trigger box there that stops the first fight in the game from spawning. Saves like 10 seconds. Fairly recent trick, like 2 months ago that was found. So the main form of movement now is ground dodge cancelling, GDC. I'll talk a bit more about it now. I'm doing dust storm cutscene skip. It's like a frame perfect clicking outside of the window to auto pause the game. If you do it on a particular frame, manages to skip a unskippable cutscene, saves like 25-30 seconds. So doing more slash, so the ground dodge cancelling, basically I'm cancelling a ground slash into a roll, which allows me to basically cancel the end leg of the roll, just roll over and over. You can see my inputs in the bottom right. I'm holding down, I'm pressing X and right trigger. Here I'm using key bindings to do zigzags, really fit quickly and destroying those walls a bit faster than normal. I need to collect 4 keys during the Glade section in order to have enough money to progress to the rest of the run. So we collect another ability. This is a big one. Aerial Dust Storm allows me to do, well, like a dust storm in the air where I spin around, but it allows a couple of different tricks that use the cancel system. Rising Dust Storm to gain height, and that move, which is aerial dodge cancelling, which allows me to go much faster. So you can carry bombs with the dust storm. Reload hit there because it lets us skip a save later on. That was entirely accidental, so a bit of time lost there, but no big deal. Yeah, so I'm supposed to get a boost there. Oh, the VLC is messing up. But I managed to actually take the bomb through. So that bomb allows me to destroy that slime, which saves a little bit of time. It does mean that we get more XP, which is actually a bad thing, but it's totally fine. Here, skip some cutscenes. So basically we've got most of the abilities we're going to get in the run. We can now do aerial dodge cancelling, rising dust storms. Aerial dodge cancelling is the fastest form of basic movement we have right now. This is rising dust storm. You do slash and then slash Y. We're actually going over a boss trigger here. We would have been forced to fight 2 giants, but we skipped straight over that. So that's like an okay. Oh, it's pretty decent Glade. My gold is like 256, 8 seconds slower than that, but 304 is like really quite reasonable. Yep, doing a panorama, and then after that we're going to be going through Aurora. This is mostly a shopping visit, and we have to just go through as fast as we can. So just loads of ground dodge cancelling and loads of skipping cutscenes as soon as we can. You can save a lot of time in this game by just knowing where the cutscenes exactly are, so you can and when you can skip them. Slight mistake there, no big deal. I land pretty much right next to the shop, which is good. So I just have to sell those 4 keys, and then I can buy. I only need 6, but I have the money for 7, so I just mash right and buy 7 of them. It's more than enough. So this is another skip. This is text storage with fail. So basically we talk to him as we leave the screen, and then it kind of like saves up talking to him until the next screen, which we can then cancel, which blocks the panorama from playing. If we ever come back here, which we luckily don't have to, then it would play it, but it saves like 15 seconds to not have to watch that. So this is like the first like major section of the run, which is the baddest. It's all about not getting red barriered. So basically, as you saw there, if there's a monster near the exit, then you can't leave the exit. A red barrier appears and it goes ding, and you can't leave. So it's all about avoiding them without having to actually fight the monsters, because they're actually really weak. So it takes ages to kill monsters. So like here, I force a boost. So boosts are where basically if you attack towards a mob, especially with aerial dust storm, you get propelled in that direction. And it allows me to launch myself high in the air. That one is pretty inconsistent, but this room is also pretty inconsistent to not get red barriered because there's ground enemies and air enemies. I kind of take it a little bit safe, managed to get it. Yeah, so loads of aerial dodge cancelling, loads of boosting with aerial dust storm like that. To just try and get through all the areas as fast as possible. We don't need any XP really there, so unfortunately get red barrier there, but managed to do an okay backup. Don't clip any of the sides here, which is important. Just keep rolling on through. So there, we don't quite get the good boost, but I managed to kind of do a bit of a save. This strat is pretty awkward. I need to pull both of those bombs without any of them hitting the mobs, and then get through this transition without getting red barrier. There's actually more enemies below me there, so like the height you're at is actually really important. Skip that cutscene, kind of, and then do some specific movement to get the bombs to quickly hit into that wall. I accidentally didn't bring the bomb with me and kind of messed up a bit there, but minor time loss. 3 ADCs right, 3 left, just drop me down, and now I need to boost straight up. So there's another interesting sequence break coming up. So these vines you see on the wall, you can actually climb them, but only with a power up that we're not getting yet. So instead we do the Rising Dust Storm that we were talking about before. That was intentional, by the way, against the wall, which is fairly precise to do, but it allows you to climb walls fairly quickly. And we get up here, we can open this treasure chest, and in there is the Flesh Sheath, which is an augment, which gives us a lot more damage. Like, we were doing like 6 damage per hit before, now we're doing like 120. So there, it's not very often you get red barrier there, it's just random mud placement. So here we're doing fuse skip skip, we save while rolling at the same time, off the side, jump load, end up in like the void, but pick up the power up, get back in bounds, load out and go back to Aurora. So that skips the fuse fight. The game is just like, oh, you got the power ups, well, obviously you beat fuse. So we're avoiding a fight here by, rather than just going left from the mayor, we're going back around to the other side. And we're going to have to go over a trigger. Our XP is also important, it's the blue bar below our HP bar. So that's very almost full, which is exactly what you want, because we're going to we want to level up at a very specific time coming up very shortly. So make sure we do enough RDSs, get over that invisible trigger, ADC way right, and go into the next chapter pretty soon. We've got one last thing to do. So we want to grab these bombs because there's a strat called early Ceramon bomb that we're going to go for. It's this kind of inconsistent strategy, but it's kind of fine if you don't get it, because the backup is totally fine. So there we leveled up when that cutscene started because we killed that mob, which allowed us to just immediately allowed us to immediately level up, and so we can get knocked back into the previous transition, and that just skips the cutscene. So here we're actually, so we're trying to guide this bomb. We lost one of them. Ideally you want both, but it still works with one. I was very lucky to have it not get blown up there. Let's just guide it through before the mobs come through and totally troll me. A couple of ADCs. Make sure the bomb has to be near you when you go through transition, otherwise it won't come. So we only got one bomb there, but it actually still saves a decent amount of time. We do need to go grab another one though, so just a little bit of time loss, but no big deal, get through. So this is now Bopo skip, similar to Fuse skip. We're going to be rolling while saving, and then that kind of messes up where the game thinks I saved, and so we can get out of bounds. So here we want to go way left, but the key thing is to not drop too far. If you hit the bottom of the screen while out of bounds, it just puts you back up where you started, which is still out of bounds, so we basically just have to do it again. Did a bit of a save there because I was going too low, so we just need to get out back in bounds, which is fairly straightforward here. Just do some slashes. So this is the start of the hardest trick in the game. Well, I'd say one of the two really hard tricks in the game. This is the more punishing of the two, so this is probably this is definitely probably the most reset heavy place after the glade. So we need to carry these bombs really far. We only need one of them to survive, but it's so easy to just lose both of them. Yeah, so we've got really good RNG so far on the mob placement, which has allowed us to boost up and go really fast through these sections. So let's take it safe by going back. We needed to double transition there to get more time on the bombs. They have a timer, and you add more time by transitioning with them. It's kind of a weird mechanic that only exists on casual difficulty, which is the difficulty we're playing on. Casual lets us do loads of good stuff, like roll infinitely, if we die we just come back alive, bombs have extra timer. There's loads of benefits to casual, so that's what the difficulty we play on. Yes, this has been a really excellent Bopo bomb. I've kind of got like all the boosts that I wanted. So we're past most of the hard bit now, just skipping some cutscenes and just finishing it off. This bit is a bit tricky to navigate through, and it's really easy to accidentally transition here without the bombs, which would be a death sentence, but we got him. So we're just going to kill some mobs down here, and then we do one more skip called Trolk skip. It's very much like the giant skip before. So there's a trigger which starts a boss fight. There's a tiny gap we can fit through to get over the trigger. So we do that, and now we're doing a panorama skip by basically, if you saw there, I turn around right as I'm transitioning, which means that it basically buffers me immediately leaving the next screen. So I leave the screen while the cutscene is happening, which just lets me leave it. I go back and the game thinks it's already played that cutscene, so it doesn't have to bother. We talked to this guy to get a resonance gem, which we need in about a couple of minutes time. So that is the wall we need the bombs to break. So that concludes Bopo Bomb. So entering Tethys fight at 30 minutes is really solid. So we go left to pick up the lightning power up. It's not actually required, but lightning is really good on Fidget. We haven't really talked much about Fidget, but basically it's the little orange companion we have. But first, so I'm using the key bindings to be able to zigzag left to right. So basically I'm using my keyboard here with specific bindings that allow me to attack very quickly left and right. Drop some frames there, but no big deal. So yeah, we picked up the lightning power up. Basically Fidget allows us to, basically it's mostly used for distracting mobs and cake carrying mobs. We used it a little bit in Abyss, but I'll point it out the next time we use Fidget. It's particularly powerful when combined with the Dust Storm move, because it basically massively powers up Fidget's projectiles. The lightning projectile is particularly good because it's instantaneous. Like as soon as you press it, it immediately hits the mobs. There's no travel time. This means I can distract the mobs immediately. So it's worth the maybe 3 second time loss it is to grab it. It makes loads of strats later on consistent. So here's the longest downtime of the run, where we're just skipping cutscenes for about 40 seconds, although we're basically done with it now. It's kind of interesting, in the warps category we're actually halfway through the run, but in Warpless we're only a third, less than a third. It is possible to land all the way at the bottom here, but I never manage it. it's no big deal. This is actually one of the most technical rooms in the game, movement-wise. Not hitting the spikes is really difficult, and you want to do like loads of movement cancelling to speed you up as much as possible. Yeah, so that was fairly okay. This next room is also hard to not hit the spikes. But basically, now that we've killed Tethys, we can advance the game, but we don't want to yet because we need to grab another power-up, the slide power-up, which is down here. We actually can't beat the game. Even in warps, there's no known way to beat the game without slide. There's loads of places where it's required and we don't have to skip. So that's where we're going. So just aerial dust storming through the wind is by far the fastest way. Some optimal movement here, using slashes to land quickly. Pick up the side power up, and unlocks a new movement type, which is slide boosting. Basically, if you slide at an edge, you kind of fly off, and you can carry that momentum if we use an attack. So there, we use slashes to carry that momentum. You'll see slide boosts with aerial dust storm as well. They send you a further down trajectory, but are really fast. So this is like the ending of chapter 2 cutscene, so we just skip that. Spoilers, that's Gaius, the final boss. So you can see that was really good, that was double gold. That's actually still slower than Finn's Ceramon, who is second place, because his Ceramon is absolutely ridiculous. Ceramon was the area we were just in. But we were still on really good pace, as you can see, like 22 seconds ahead. So now we're in Soaring. It's by far the longest area of the game. It's kind of like a haunted mansion kind of area. So there's loads and loads of rooms we want to go through. So there we're just like using Fidget with the new lightning ability and the dust storm to be able to throw a mob really high into the air, so we can then boost off it and kind of go through the room really fast. Here we pick up a key because we need to open this chest. This chest contains the Pendant of Beauty, which gives us an extra 60 attack. So that's our attack's gone from like 180 to like 120 to like 160. So that's like a good like 50% boost. Well worth picking up because we've got 2 fairly long boss fights, so that's easily worth the time save. This kind of mini boss fight, just using slide to trip it up and then just killing it is really easy. So we need to kill some mobs here, otherwise we're just going to get red barriered. Like that nest will always red barrier you, and these zombies usually do, so just take care of them, slide through. This is another bomb strike, it's a really tricky one, it's called Sorrowing Bomb. So there we do a slide boost with the aerial dust storm, I think I mentioned before, some rising dust storms, and carry these bombs. We've got to take them quite a long way. So these mobs are going to red barrier us, so that's where we take them out. So we're actually in the central hub room now. So this is Cora, the NPC that's kind of looking after us for this section. We'll be coming back here a couple of times before we're done. Again, we still don't have Vine Grip, so we're rising the storm up that wall. Notice there was a timer that started there, that was the beeping, but it went away as we did transitions because we got more time. So here we want to intentionally leave the bombs behind because we're going to pick up a new bomb, but with a really short timer. We want that one to be the first one that's used because we've got 3 walls we want to blow up. The first 2 are here, and then remember we want to be killing these zombies. That zombie on the left, very unfortunately, that zombie on the left kind of trolled us and just walked left straight into the bomb. Just didn't care about us at all. So we've got to do a backup, grab another bomb. The backup is actually really scary, because it has such a short timer. Getting the bomb past that nest is pretty sketchy there as well, but we managed it. And so that's the bomb, that's the wall that is unintentional to destroy in that way. So that skips a whole bunch. Doing a bit of flubbed movement there, no big deal. Boost off this wizard. So we're going to be doing our first like out of bounds that isn't with a save point. So this is like basically like a frame perfect roll while walking left. So what I do is position myself just right, then try and press left and then roll a frame later. We need to go to this room to pick up the exit that was on the right. We came back left. We need to do some rolls out of bounds, and then we land back in bounds. So the main objective of this area is we need to go through 4 mansions, pick up 4 key items, then go back to Cora and then finish the area. So we're going to our first mansion here. So that was actually a fairly tricky strat to get the bomb down there really quickly, but got it first time. So this is just like movement. The mansion's actually a fairly challenging movement overall. You'll see me using attacks to land quickly on the stairs a lot, just to save those frames. You also can't see what's coming up very much in the mansion, so it's really critical to just have it all memorized, which is a lot harder than it sounds. Here we're just going to do a slide boost. Well, I messed up the slide boost, but very minor time loss. You have to go back and forth here, pick up an item. So now we just want to escape. So that's actually a very inconsistent strategy there. You like heard the red barrier, but then it didn't work. Basically, if you do very particular movement, there's like a 50% chance you'll get through there, and it saves like 8 seconds, so that's pretty sick that I got it. Right, so we're just TPing out and going back to the other areas. To be able to TP out like that, you have to have a teleport stone. Slight mess up there. Which is the things we bought at the start. We bought 7 of, with all those keys. Yeah, the movement in this game is actually very precise. Things can go wrong very, very easily. Like for example, that wizard can just red barrier you if he doesn't like you, or if your movement is even slightly imprecise. And so by far the most challenging part of dust runs is just the movement and not making mistakes that cost a lot of time. You know, like for example, like I got that boost there, but I was a little bit too slow and that slime would have jumped down and then I couldn't have got this boost at all. But I actually need to exit this room high up, otherwise I'll get red barriered. So it's just like one example of hundreds where there's like big time loss for absolutely tiny movement mistakes. Yeah, so I was hoping to get a boost off those zombies. It didn't really pan out. It's no big deal, not a huge time loss, just boost off the wizard instead. So just ADCs through a good portion of this room. And then boost up here. These wasps love to red barrier you, but if you do the exact same movement every time, it should be okay. So here I'm counting my ADCs to like hopefully land exactly in the right place. But yeah, there we go. Nice. Same here. So sorrowing is usually people's either least favorite or favorite place. I do really like sorrowing, with one exception, which is the sorrowing second out of bounds, which we'll see in a little bit. Which is just it's the other extremely hard trick. When I said before there were 2 hardest tricks, that is the second one after Bopo Bomb. It's not quite as punishing. If you make a mistake, because you can just try again, but it is so difficult and it can take so many tries to get it. You can lose a minute quite easily, even if you're pretty good at the strategy, because you might fail 10 times in a row. So this is pretty sketchy. There's an exploding zombie that can screw up really badly, but luckily I got fairly good mob RNG placement. Basically always the same mobs will spawn in roughly the same place, but it's kind of random exactly where they spawn. Like sometimes they spawn a bit to the left, sometimes they spawn a bit to the right. And that's what I mean by the mob RNG, because like if they spawn a bit to the right, well if that's closer to the transition, then they might red barrier you when it wouldn't have normally. Which could be a huge time loss. So you kind of need to know like, okay, in every room, like if the mobs are like this, what should I do? And so there's a hell of a lot to this game. Like when you're just watching like this, you just see me like plowing through these rooms, just like blasting through them, not fighting anything. It might look like, oh you just roll, just go left, just move through, like no big deal. But every single room is completely routed out, exactly what movement, like what's consistent, what isn't. And just between like just tiny changes in movement can be seconds different in how fast it is, so it really matters exactly how you do everything. So here, this is the sorrowing out of bounds 2. It's just like the other one the other way. We've got to do walk to the right and then roll left on the next frame. I find this one much harder than the first one. As you can see, it's just really, really finicky. But I finally got it. So you can see how much time you can lose just by having to retry that. But that's actually the easy part of this strat. So the hard part is coming up now. Oh. Yeah, there you go. So you couldn't really see it very well because my stream dropped, but so, yeah, so I got it there. So basically I'm out of bounds, and it would be easy to get back in bounds, except there's a bomb wall, and bomb walls have a property that if you attack them with not a bomb, then they just knock you way back, and it knocks you back out of bounds. So you have to like go basically line up so that you'll go through a tiny gap where you won't hit the bomb wall but will get back in bounds. There's also like some lip in the geometry where you can get stuck very easily, and of course there's no floor to any of this, so you're just having to use the rising dust storm and other movement techniques to basically stay in the air and control yourself. This is the third mansion. Mostly the same. There was a couple of slide boosts there to save like fractions of a second. So we actually now have the vine grip. So you can see now I can actually climb. Notice I'm using the D-pad to actually do the climbing, because diagonal inputs with the D-pad. Basically, if you're anything off 45 degrees, I messed up my slide boost a bit there and just gave up. Then you basically go much less far than if you hit exactly 45 degrees, and D-pad obviously always gives you exact 45 degree angles, so climbing diagonally with the D-pad is actually really effective. So we're just going to head over to the fourth mansion now. This is actually some of the harder movement just because now we've got the vine grip. We need to do some vine climbing, which is actually not trivial at all. It's kind of funny that like some people joke that like climbing vines without vine grip is actually easier than with it. It is definitely tricky. Here I'm trying to get a boost, and we got it. That's not as fast as I would have liked to be able to get it, but it's still fairly good. Tried to get a boost there, didn't really get it. Got caught an okay boost off those guys. I just want to go up now. Get a little bit of a boost here, slide boost here. Make sure I don't go too low because there's mobs there that will red barring me. So this room's quite fun. There's just two wizards that you can just try and get boosts off. I quite like it just because it's just like, you know, just go as fast as you can. Yeah, so weirdly you can just fall straight through there even though it's like 20 foot of rock below you. It's like super random what platforms you can drop through and what things you can't. You just have to know. Like there, we can just go up from below that platform even though it's like really thick rock. Here we go into the fourth mansion. Kind of a bit of a weird strat here where we intentionally drop down so that we can boost up off the ghost, which is Kane, to get a bunch of height to be able to skip out a bunch of destructible walls. So yes, again using that vine grip. Okay. Slight misstep there, but kind of recover it okay. Slide, roll, slide, jump some ADCs. So this is the final item, which is why we got the cutscene there. So now there are mobs, so we can use them to boost to get out, hopefully a little bit faster than the way we got in. This bit is a little bit tricky. Got an RDS of the light wall, left wall, without destroying the destructible wall. Tried to go for a slide boost, didn't quite get it, just slammed into the next wall. But it's okay. You might have seen there, like, sometimes when you drop through platforms, if you're cancelling a slash to do it, then you won't like go into the drop animation, you'll just like be walking in midair, and it has some weird properties because the game is confused about, it thinks you're standing but you're actually falling. So again we just TP'd out, we're going through this couple of rooms for the third time, and we're heading to the end of Sorrowing. As you can see, we've been in Sorrowing for like 13.5 minutes. It's an extremely long area, but we're near the end. We just gotta fight the boss after we go through some rooms. So this boss fight is probably one of the harder boss fights. It's nowhere near as RNG as the final boss fight, So I developed a strategy where you use pause. Basically, in this game, when you unpause the game, you have invulnerability for a couple of seconds, assuming that you don't move. So I'm going to take advantage of that to iframe through loads of his attacks, while using key bindings to be able to zigzag back and forth and do these crouch slashes left and right that do really high DPS. So I pause the game, unpause the game, and just stand still until his slash goes through me. Then I continue zigzagging. And then when he's almost dead, I have to change the difficulty from casual to normal. So the only downside of casual difficulty is you can't set your skill points, they automatically just go into the thing you have least of. But we want to put all of our points into attack. So we change the difficulty to normal so that when we level up, we get the skill points. We change it back to casual because casual only auto assigns the points when you get them. So they're ready to be spent, so we can safely change it back to casual. So I'm going to do it now, put all those points into attack and move on to Blackmore. So you can probably see on my splits that I lost like a whole bunch of time in soaring, but that's because my PB at this point had an absolutely ridiculous soaring. Because that was a 1433, which is pretty good. Like 1430 is basically the goal. Like if you can get sub 1430, that's like a really good soaring. My PB just casually got like a 1411, which is easily the fastest I've ever done. Might even be the fastest anybody's done, probably not. Finn and Accurate, the other runners, have put a lot of time into this category and probably has some pretty amazing gold splits. So that is like a really precise jump. If you do a jump, full jump, and then certain attacks, you can just barely get up there. So again, using the Fidget Storm there, Fidget and Dust Storm combined, to boost some mobs up and get some height. Accidentally rolled to the left, no big deal though. So these are like bomb guys. That as soon as you get near them, they explode. They're great for boosting, but really dangerous. So we're going to get our final power-up that we're going to get. It's not actually the final power-up of the game, but we're not going to get the last one. This one is really interesting. It's kind of interesting that we actually only get this because it lets us do a skip later on that just saves so much time that it's worth getting. But because we get it, it lets us do something called double jump movement or double jump dash cancel. That is the fastest movement in the game and totally flub immediately, which is that. So basically, normally you can't jump while rolling, but if you have double jump, you can double jump while rolling. And since the start of a roll, you're moving really fast, you carry the momentum with your jump. And to maintain it, we hold Aerial Dust Storm. So it's actually 3 inputs: roll, then jump, and then Aerial Dust Storm. And we go really fast, left and right, and we'll be using it heavily for the rest of the run. It's actually really finicky to do though, because you want to press those 3 inputs basically as fast as you can to go as fast as you can. But if you can also do it while in the air by accidentally hit the ceiling. So you see, you can also use double jump to do normal double jumps as well. But if you press it too fast, you press jump and roll in the same frame, it doesn't work. So here we're trying to do an out of bounds, which we get. We boost up that wolf, which saves a bunch of time. And then we're doing ice cave skip, so we're jumping left out of bounds, clipping into that rock, which pushes up to the top, back into the, we'll go left into the next room, and then just RDS, Rising Dust Storm up to the top and clip straight back inbound. So that actually skips probably like a minute and a half's worth of like rooms, so you have to like unclear the blockage and yada yada yada, a bunch of stuff. As the final out of bounds, well, the final one where you have to roll out of bounds. Here we're boosting up through the area, taking advantage of that double jump movement. Here's a pretty tricky boost. We got to use these mobs above us here to get up there. Here we're going to use some double jump movement and then some boosting. We got a really bad boost off the mobs there, which costs us a few seconds. It's no big deal. This guy is pretty sketchy. You have to bait him to do an attack and then get back. You could see the red barrier was forming, so he's very close to stopping us, but not quite. Some more double jump movement to make our way towards the right. slightly screw up the movement there, but it's no big deal. This next room is pretty tricky. We have to get a fairly inconsistent boost to make this work. So we go down here, intentionally take damage, and then try and boost off the enemy to the left, but the enemy is just not coming over, so we just can't do it. We're just gonna have to drop down, boost back up. So that's, you know, that's 5 seconds lost there, because you can get the boost immediately after taking the damage if you get lucky. This is also a fairly tricky room, but I've practiced it a lot. So a bunch of intentional damage boosts. It allows us to skip some cycles. Just another one here. Rolling into the wall just stops us from getting pushed away from it. Here we're using fidget to distract the mobs so that we don't get red barriered. And we're starting to get towards the end of Black Moor. So they introduced a new mechanic here where the wind is pushing you. The wind is actually pushing me left. But if I do fast movement, like double jump movement, then it doesn't make a ton of difference. But it does make a big difference when you're just trying to roll. So that's me messing up the double jump movement there. It's just, because it is just 3 inputs, you need to do it all quickly, but not too quickly. It's really, really easy to mess up. So we got one last skip for Black Moor before we're done with it. So basically there's a trigger just to my left here that starts a boss fight. Like a mini boss fight with some Gauss soldiers, so we just RDS straight over that. And then we just double jump movement all the way to the where a bunch of cutscenes are. So this is like the big reveal of the game. There's like loads of long cutscenes. We just skip them as fast as we can. You can tell if you got the optimal skip because you only see black when it fades down. So I got it on the second one, but not the first one. You saw a frame of the FMV. And there we go, that's Black Moor. So we've only got one area left now, which is Everdawn. Everdawn is actually like super horrendous, but first we need to do the same thing we did a long time ago with Fail, but this time with a different NPC, Gihan, to do text storage, to skip a panorama cutscene. So we're just going to talk to him while leaving, that stores the text. He talks to us when we enter the next area, which blocks the panorama from playing, which saves like a good 8 seconds or 15 seconds something. Another skip straight away, there's a trigger just to our right that will force us to talk to a bunch of NPCs, which is really slow. Instead we just go straight over that and just, that's the NPC there, we just don't care at all. So this is probably the final huge skip, the last out of bounds, called Yellow Gate skip. Basically there's a yellow gate which needs the yellow gate stone to get through, but we don't have time for that. By exiting that screen at a right in the very corner, like it has to be maximum height, and then buffering certain inputs during the transitions, the game chucks us out of bounds below the yellow gate, which will be soon going under. So there's the gate. In order to get the resonance stone to be able to open that gate, you have to basically do like a mini side quest, so that actually saves a lot of time. And that's the main reason why we get double jump. So the final power that we're not getting is basically in updrafts. It allows us to jump really high if we're in them, but we don't need that because we're Rise and Dust Storm, so we can just go really high, which is what you saw there. It's just RDSing left and right. Slight flub on the movement there, so I'm just taking it really easy. Get hit by that lava, it can cost a lot of time. So here there's a bunch of invisible enemies. We kind of need to navigate a bomb past them over here and do the vast panorama skip, which is supposed to be like the Mudpot one, but I totally screwed up here. So if I started slightly further back and held left, I would have buffered a left input, so as soon as I entered the screen, left, and it would have skipped this. So I lost like 10 to 15 seconds there, which really sucks right at the end of the run, but it is what it is. So here's like definitely my least favourite part of the run. Basically there's loads of rooms where there's just loads of mobs. It's supposed to be like an army, 2 armies fighting each other. So there's just basically just big flat areas with mobs, and it's all about getting boosts to go through the area really quickly, but the key thing is not to get red barriered at the end. Like I said, there's just mobs everywhere. So if we get red barriered, it could be absolutely immense time lost there. The enemies were parrying me, which is another thing they can do, which is really horrible. I managed to get through them okay. This room is a little bit better, a little bit less mobs. Boost up through here, boost off more mobs. Double jump movement. Go way right. Here we hopefully don't get red barrier by a ship that can appear. Did okay. Now here's just more rooms of just mobs. The ships that are in the sky are really good for boosting up because they're always above us. So just aerial dust storming towards them generally gets us really, really high up, which is good for going fast. So here we get cutscene. There's about a 50% chance that a load of mobs will just be there in red barriers, which is a big time loss. Well, potentially at 5 seconds, but didn't have it happen. Here we need to intentionally go down to 1 health, which is a bit sketchy because right now I'm like trying not to die, which is what's happening there. That's why I'm which is why I'm being really sheepish. So here I failed to get my boost, and so it kind of screwed me up. So I had to just like manually get loads of height there to exit the room without being red barred. So that was kind of slow, but it is what it is. Boosts are just kind of inherently inconsistent. So here there's a bunch of cannons firing at us, and there's about a 50% chance we get hit, which we did, but luckily it was close enough to the transition we can carry the iframes through. And you see some cannons hit us, but we had the iframes from dying. Because we're on casual difficulty, we just come back alive, which allows us to go up to the next screen. So that's called double cannon fire skip. Normally you get hit by the cannons, get sent to the floor, have to like navigate through all the cannons. It's all really slow. Our strat is inconsistent because it requires you not to get hit at the start of the second room, but luckily we got the good RNG. Here, boost up a bunch of mobs. Accidentally clip that lava, which is again, it's just such an example of such a minor mistake costing like a good amount of time. We just got 3 more rooms of just where the war is happening. Took me a couple of tries to get the boost there, but no big deal. So here we just want to get a boost off that ship. Just carry it through to the end of the room. So that is, we are basically up to the final boss there, but we just got to do another skip. I think I've said like the final skip like 3 times. Just like FFS and Fuse Skip and Boba Skip, we jump while saving, which makes the game confused. So when we reload that save, we go out of bounds and we just fly towards the trigger that causes the start of the final boss fight. This is actually not the start of the final boss fight, it's actually phase 4. It's actually a 4-phase boss fight, it's 4 HP bars, but luckily we can skip straight to the final phase, which has the interesting effect of no music actually playing, which so just kind of have to deal with the ambience. So this boss fight looks super easy, and in many ways he is super easy. You just loop him like this, throw him into the lava, as soon as his iframes end, attack him some more, and we're just doing the same combo that just does good damage and throws him into the lava, that allows us to loop him. As you saw, like there's a completely random chance he'll just parry us and knock us backwards, and that can really screw you up depending on what happens. You just want to get back on top of him ASAP. Luckily none of the parries really screwed me over, so I was able to do he parried me on the final hit, which is really, really rare. And something kind of bad here happens where, because I had killed him, did the final hit, where it's like a cinematic hit where you hit him in the middle while in the air. It took a little bit longer for me to land, which delayed the final cutscene a little bit, but no big deal. So we're basically done with the game. All we have to do is hold right to finish. This is like a crawl, so it's just like 30 seconds of crawling. Nothing you can do to speed it up, nothing you can do to slow it down. You just look at your timer and just think, do I have PB? Do I have world record? And you go, yeah I do, finally. So time is when the screen fades to white when I touch Gaius's hand, and there it is, 43:57. So I'm not going to let the ending cutscene play out. It's massive spoilers, you should play the game because it's really, really good. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the run. As you can see, there's loads of mistakes and things to improve, like just casually didn't get the panorama skip in Everdon, but this run is just so technical, so difficult. There's absolutely every single run could go wrong. Just having a run that has no like minute plus time losses is so difficult. Like the ceiling for this run is, it's probably under 42 minutes even with current strats, which makes it a really good run, I think, just because it's so skill intensive. Yeah, if you watch this and not part of the Dust Speedrun community, feel free to check us out. You can find us at speedrun.com. Let me actually just find the URL. If you just type in Dust Speedrunning, you'll get it, but the URL is speedrun.com/dust_AET for an Elysian tale. You can find a link to the Discord, which is pretty much where everything is. We have like resources, we have tutorial videos, and we're all really helpful and can help you out if you want to learn it. It's actually a fairly easy run to start off. All the hard strats you can avoid, like Bopo Bomb, all the outbounds, they're all you don't have to do them to get a good time. Yeah, you can get sub 1 hour with most of the without doing most of the tricks. And yeah, and if you haven't played this game casually, like totally do that. This game is absolutely phenomenal casual game. It's like a super cool story driven like Metroidvania with excellent combat, absolutely excellent hand drawn artwork. Yeah, I'm just gonna wrap it up now. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.